His name is...
I'm so happy I chose the good one.
Pick one.
Okay. Play Ebony? What's the other one?
Play fake ad game.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't get that one.
This person claims that Ebony is a fake.
It's been about 4 years since we looked at the pull the pin mobile games and that craze that took over pretty much any video service. And I've noticed a lot of the ads, a big selling point that they say is that the games that are in the ad is actually the game. Now, I'm not going to say that the video I made caused them to do that, but I'm not saying that it wasn't me that did that, so maybe I did. Anyway, if you remember that pull the pin video I did, most of the games did not have that gameplay mechanic in it. Now, even some of the games that had the pull the pin mechanic might have necessarily not had it originally. Medea here saying that they played Gardenscape for a long time, and that there was no pull the pin mechanic in the beginning. But I do notice a lot more ads are now saying this is the true game.
Got the game right here to show you that it's real.
I don't understand why people say this game is fake.
Ebony. Possible. Watch, we're gonna get this 2 times right off the bat. There we go.
Wait a second, we played this specific game in the last video, the pull the pin video. And now they're showing a totally different mechanic that was not present in the game when we played it. Just like Medea said about Gardenscape. That's got me wondering, this new genre of game that we've come across, I'm gonna call it corridor games. I don't know what else to call it. A game where you're in a long corridor and you have to move around to make sure you make the best choice in where you position yourself within the corridor. And I've found some examples of these games. Mob Control, Join and Clash, Crowd Evolution, Top War, Last War, Monster Squad Rush, Monster Trainer, and Pocket Monster Run. It's time to don the detective hat once again. Which games out of this list are going to actually have the mechanic that we're seeing here? So the first game we're looking at is a game called Mob Control. And immediately the game dumps you into a round that looks exactly like the ads in question. So in this game what you're going to do is you position your cannon left or right to try to fire off your troops and ensure that they're able to make it to the enemy's castle on the other end of the corridor. Now the enemy's castle is also sending their troops towards you, and that's where these multipliers play a role. If you can get your troops to walk through a multiplier gate, it multiplies their numbers. Hence, this is a way that you can defeat the enemy, even though the enemy has more early on. You can also charge up your shots to get a super soldier that is yellow rather than your normal color. Eventually, you can see where you rank in comparison to other players. The thing is, I actually think most of these players are not actual human players. I feel like these are a lot of made-up names just to fill out the ranking. Shaolin King Fu? Devil's Blood? Wait, why do these people have the exact same profile pictures? It's obviously that these are not real players. And the game sort of ramps up in difficulty, meaning you do need to make some decisions on where you send your troops, because the enemy is going to actually send more troops your way. However, it doesn't ever seem to be that much of a challenge. And I'm going to go ahead and say it here because this applies to most of the games that we're looking at. The ads are atrocious. As you're playing, the game will stop and make you watch an ad. A lot of times they will offer an ad bonus for this, but even if you dismiss the ad bonus, you still have to watch the ad, which just slows down the gameplay. So for Mob Control, I think it's safe to give it a check. The game that you see is exactly the game that is in the ads. The next game is Join and Clash. So Joining Clash has a similar art style to Mob Control, but the difference is that you're moving your characters rather than moving a cannon. Once your characters make it to the end of the corridor, they break out into a fist fight with the defenders of the castle, and then they storm the castle, throwing out the last remaining enemy. You also have these boss battles where instead of having a group of enemies you have to fight, there is one large giant champion that you must defeat. You're also given a base that you can upgrade with the money and resources you collect during the actual corridor play. Bonus levels are in reverse. Now the enemy is trying to storm your castle. You must fire off cannons to defeat the hordes of enemies. You can also upgrade your main character. This doesn't upgrade the other characters you collect along the way, but the main one that you start with. You're also given opportunities to open chests to gain more gold. These golds can be used for upgrades. An issue I'm having with playing this game is that the ads that are included with this game force you to play the game that they're advertising. I don't want to do that. I want to skip that. And the crazy thing is that I actually played this ad twice in a row. Meaning, as soon as I had completed watching it, it played it again. I've never seen a game do this where it made you watch the same ad twice. And the game later on does add more obstacles, making it more difficult to get to the castle at the end with all your troops intact. And one thing that I am noticing is that it seems like upgrading your base doesn't really do much in terms of gameplay. So for Joining Clash, we go ahead and give it a check. Might not be my cup of tea, but the game is exactly what you see in the ad. Next up is Crowd Evolution. So Crowd Evolution is very similar to Joining Clash. The only difference is it also includes this mechanic of different eras. As you go through the gates, you can either have characters added, characters removed, or you can have years added or removed. You'll also come across enemy characters, but honestly they don't seem to pose much of a threat. They go down to whatever projectile your characters have. And what projectiles they use depend upon the era mechanic. And to be honest, I don't totally understand why they chose certain projectiles for certain years. You start out with year 0 and you only have rocks that you throw. You can upgrade it to throwing axes and then later on upgrade that to Roman javelins. Year 0, I assume that means like around 1 AD, right where the switch between BC and AD happens. Why would it not be Roman javelins at that point? Rome existed. You later get Native American bows and arrows, you get medieval knights, and then you get ninjas. I don't get it. You'll also be able to get a pet. Now the pet seems to be only cosmetic. It doesn't really seem to add much to the play. Each round you're also given an opportunity to make it to the bonus hut. Depending on how many troops you got and how high you got your era, you have a better chance of making it there. You're also able to use some of the resources you get to upgrade your characters. I assume you can at some point pick which era to start with, but honestly I didn't play long enough to get to that point. Kind of got bored of this game pretty quickly. And that's all there really is to this game. There's not really much to... Oh, not this ad again. Yeah, we're not playing this ad again. No, we're out. So Crowd Evolution, it pretty much follows that same format. So far we're doing really good. But next is the game that I've actually seen the most ads of this type for, and that game is going to be Top War. And the interesting thing is that most of these Top War ads, they make a point to say that this game is the same game as in the ad.
Playing games people say are fake, part 3. This is Top War, let's get another guy. Okay, now let's get a better gun. Perfect, keep shooting. We're gonna keep trying to get these resources because we're gonna need them later. Everybody says this game is fake and I don't know why. I'm literally playing it right now. This is the game.
The only thing I recommend is Top War.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Okay, I don't think I can beat them. Oh, I got that one, okay.
Okay, we should be able to get that gun upgrade. Come on. Yes, barely got it. Oh, can we get the AK? I didn't move over there fast enough. Yo, an RPG. First, let's get some of this wood to make our car bigger. No, why'd I do that? Wait, what? That just cut our car in half. Now we can't get any of these. Okay, let's strategize. We really need to get this wood so we can get this gun.
Wait, this footage looks oddly familiar.
Okay, we should be able to get that gun.
We really need to get this
upgrade.
one so we can get this
Yes,
gun.
barely
Yes,
got
last
it.
second we
Okay,
got
get
it.
the AK.
Okay, maybe we can get
Nah, I
this
didn't
one.
move over
No,
there
not
fast
enough.
Yo, an
Okay, maybe
RPG.
that one.
First, let's get
Still
some of this
not
wood to
enough.
make our
Okay,
car
this
bigger.
is so
No, why did I
frustrating.
do that?
That's
Wait,
not
what?
how
Scrap
we're
our
gonna
car.
I've actually seen quite a few of these ads. It's the same exact gameplay, but each person is pretending that they're providing the gameplay for that ad. But what about the actual game? What does it look like? Well, let's hop right into it. Right off the bat, we're introduced to Black Widow. Careful there, Top War. You're flying a little too close to the sun. It's now where we finally jump into the actual gameplay. Wait, where's the corridor? There is no corridor. This is like that Advance War series. You just have your troops on one side of the screen and the enemy troops on the other side, and you just watch them fire back and forth. There's no corridor at all. Alright, so we're still early in the game. Maybe it comes in later on. We go ahead and take some time to build up our base. We also come across a chat system. Now, looking at some of these chats, I feel like they might be fake. I mean, look at this. First day playing, and already this what? Most people just saying hi, hi, hi. And as we continue playing, we see that the gameplay doesn't really change much from the Advanced War style gameplay. Well, except for maybe this part where you can march your troops to gain more resources. That's a little bit different. We also have the availability of unlocking more heroes. But I do have to question, how did they get access to some of these characters? You would think that this would be a huge IP infringement. I do think my favorite hero character is the Comedy Consortium. Imagine you're in the middle of a war, and you decide that you're going to hire a group of stand-up comedians to fight for you. I think that's just funny. So later on in the game, I did end up joining an alliance, but I don't really know what that means. And quite frankly, I think I've got enough information to make my decision on this game. So for Top War, it is not the game that is in the ads. In fact, it is nothing like that game. It follows a totally different mechanic than the corridor game mechanic that the ad shows. Next up is Last War. Now Last War looks a lot like Top War when looking at some of the ads. Right off the bat, it does look promising. There's the corridor. We move our troops left or right to try to get the power-ups, and if we don't quite have enough firepower for that power-up, we'll have to dodge the last second so we don't lose any more troops. After a while, we do make it to an area where we can start building a base. You also have these boss battles that punctuate the gameplay every once in a while. They have a lot more HP, and they hit your characters a lot harder than the normal characters. And now that we have defeated that first boss, we now raise the American flag. I am curious. I wonder if this flag changes depending on what country you play this game in. If you have tried this game out and you've got to this point where you raise the flag, let me know in the comments. Does it change depending on your country? And not long after we first start upgrading our base and collecting resources, we're attacked by another one of those dogs. And even though we win that round, it seems like one of our heroes, our very first hero, has just been captured and hooked up to a bomb within our base. Meaning that we only have 24 hours to deactivate this bomb. And we do end up deactivating the bomb before the timer has ran out. I am curious, I don't know what happens if you fail to do this. I don't know if it explodes and you lose your base, but honestly, I don't think that would be it, would it? As you continue playing, you also recruit survivors. Now the thing is, this is a world after a zombie apocalypse. Not only that, there's also some evil organization that is behind it trying to take over the world, I guess? I don't know. But that seems to be the main plot line here. You're trying to be the last survivors in a world where an evil organization is using zombies to take over the world. Also end up unlocking the arena area, which is a place where you battle AI opponents. I don't know if eventually you can battle actual player opponents, but there's also a skip button, so I don't understand the purpose of this. So it seems like Last War is the game that Top War pretended to be. Now I played up until I got to this point, and it seems like nothing I did seemed to get me to finishing this level. I think what I needed to do was just continue grinding and trying to get my base leveled up so I can level up my heroes, but honestly, I was done playing at this point. I was ready to quit this game. So even though Last War, the ads, a lot of times it shows enemies that look like the enemies in Top War, Last War, you're playing against zombies. It is the same mechanic. So I do think, mechanic-wise, we'll give it a check mark, even though it doesn't seem to be proud about the fact that you're fighting zombies in that game. I don't know why. The next three are three that I thought were interesting because all three of them attempted to look like Pokemon games.
Here I saw Charmander and Charmeleon turned into egg. That egg went on fight with Mewtwo. So I thought it would be a Pokemon game.
So that was an ad for Monster Squad Rush. And obviously, it's trying hard to pretend to be a Pokemon ad. Of course, it didn't have Charmander or Charmeleon, but the narrator said, oh, Charmander and Charmeleon's here. And then at the end, that obviously was Mewtwo. So not only am I going to grade these games based off of if they actually have the Corridor game, but I'm also going to be looking at, is it actually going to have any Pokemon in it, or are they just putting them in the ads to try to trick people into clicking it? Right off the bat, that game asks us to customize our character, and obviously the male character here looks a lot like Brock. And here is the actual gameplay. You use the Pokeballs that you collect, and you throw them at the creatures in order to try to capture them. They obviously look like Pokeballs, that's what I'm going to call them. And then at the end, you reach this guy that is obviously based off of Team Rocket, and you battle him with his Pokemon that he has. And there's going to be points in the game where it lets you choose between two monsters. Now, it honestly seems just aesthetic, and which one you choose, it doesn't really seem to impact the gameplay that much. And there's also points where you will battle boss creatures. Now, defeating one of these boss creatures means that they might appear in your board as you walk through here. Now, the thing is, even though you've captured some of these, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are yours. You're going to have to recapture them each round when you go through the corridor. We also have an opportunity to unlock certain things, such as this hat. Now, with the hat, the character looks a lot more like Ash than he does Brock now. And this game also seems to have the fake player ranking system as some of the earlier games. And at some point you can unlock characters to play as. Wait a second. Is that Spider-Man? Deadpool? Naruto? What's up with these games and these copyrighted characters? And it doesn't really seem like the gameplay varies that much. I mean, by level 8 you do get midpoint bosses, but the actual gameplay is exactly the same. You just collect the little Pokeballs, capture your monster, and just move around the board. You don't actually keep them, it's just each time you play, you just have to recapture them. It doesn't really give you that much in terms of mechanics to latch onto. And the monsters themselves are not that memorable. Really, one of the things that holds this down is that you don't actually keep them. Once you unlock them, that just means they might show up on your corridor path. I guess really the most notable thing about this game is when you defeat the Team Rocket stand-in, you have this bonus game where you charge up your Pokemon's attacks and try to knock him through some brick walls. It's funny the first few times you do this, but it's not that hard to max out this bonus stage, so really it doesn't add much to it. Oh, wait a second, not this ad again. Okay, we're out of here. So Monster Squad Rush, of course it is a corridor game, but like I said, I'm going to also be looking at if it has Pokemon elements that it had in the ads. So I'm going to give a check and a half, because it does have a corridor game that does exist, but it has no Pokemon. Of course it wouldn't have any Pokemon. They don't want that kind of heat from Game Freak. So we're going to give it a check and a half. The next game is Monster Trainer. Now the funny thing is, when I went back to see if I could find some of the ads for this game, I couldn't find any. Like, I just couldn't find any at all. I don't know if they all got pulled down, but I do vaguely remember seeing Pokemon included in that as well. Now, when I booted up the game, it actually had a different title on the title screen, but I just want to take in this image. On the title screen, we have Knockoff Kyogre, Rayquaza, Ho-Oh, Groudon, Lugia, and this guy from Dragon Ball Super. The game starts off and it gives you a choice of starter. I guess we're just going to go with the Scorpion instead of the Demon Egg guy. So into the actual gameplay, here it is, the corridor mechanic. Instead of getting Pokeballs and trying to capture things, you actually get chunks of meat and money. At the end of each corridor game, you come to this little island area. I guess it's like a town or something, and you actually feed your monster or capture new monsters. In these towns, you can also battle some NPCs. Wait a second. Is that Squirtle in a ninja outfit? Of course, I know it's not Squirtle, but that actually is kind of cool. Alright, so for Monster Trainer, I'll go ahead and give it a check. It's obviously got some creatures that are pretending to be Pokemon that are obviously not Pokemon, like Ninja Squirtle. But we'll give it a check just because it is a corridor game. And actually thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and just put half because I know for certain, I know I don't have a way to prove it anymore because it got pulled down, but the fact that it got pulled down, Monster Trainer obviously did have Pokemon in the ad. And last up is Pocket Monster Run. Now, obviously that one is trying hard to capture the Pokemon fan base. So it turns out that Pocket Monster Run seems like the ad for that game as well had been pulled off. And it was one that also had Pokemon elements, heavily featured just like Monster Squad Rush. And just like Monster Trainer, the loading screen is filled with knockoff Pokemon. And it's pretty much played like the previous game as well. You can grab money instead of meat, you can grab hearts and fish and carrots. There's a little bit more variety in terms of food for your Pokemon. And this game also ends with you making your way to a town type area where you can feed your Pokemon and also capture some new Pokemon. And you can obviously tell which Pokemon these monsters are meant to be knockoffs of. We have Discount Squirtle, Discount Snover, Discount Caesar, and even Discount Gengar. And the odd thing is, the battle mechanics are exactly like Monster Trainer. In fact, this game is pretty much just Monster Trainer, just with a little more exploration within the town area. Other than that, the corridor mechanic and the battle mechanic is pretty much the same. Even the evolution mechanic is the same as Monster Trainer. And really, that's it. There's not much more to say about this specific game. Okay, there's probably one thing that I should mention that I think was weird. It's the fact that this game lets you unlock everything just by watching ads. In fact, you can just beat this game within a full hour just by watching the ads. It is a corridor game, but the Pokemon elements are overstated. The fact that that game had its ads pulled down too just shows you that, yeah, Game Freak is keeping an eye out for those kind of things. I did ask in the pull the pin ad. I don't think I actually sat down and gave you my answer to the question. Why did so many games have that pull the pin mechanic? I think it's the same reason why a lot of them have these corridor game mechanics in the ads, but they don't actually have that within the game, or it seems kind of haphazardly thrown in. So I think what happened was the pull the pin games became popular. Some of these games stuck them into their original games, just like Gardenscape, Homescape. I think the similar thing is happening with this, as we saw Ebony pretending to be a corridor game after it already pretended to be a pull the pin game. I think what it is a lot of these game companies realize that it doesn't matter if they keep people there. As long as they have someone download that game and they can throw all these ads as you're trying to get through the game, they still make their money. They make their money from all of these ads. So it doesn't matter if you stay, as long as they get you in there to play just enough for some of these ads to pop up, they have won. They don't care if they outright lie to you. They don't care if they hire some other creators to lie to you as well. At the end of the day, everyone gets their money. The only thing is that you have wasted your time. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this game detective series. We'll go ahead and take the hat back off, and I'll see you in the next video.